Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Annalisa and today I am doing a book haul. This one keeps jumping up to, well, not jumping up, standing up on his back legs to pat my legs. Yeah, and sniff me and purr. Yeah, so I pick him up, but he doesn't want that. He wants me to sit on the floor and pet him. Fortunately, this one is a little bit less of a book haul of shame because I actually was able to buy quite a few of these used because used stores are starting to open up again in my area, but I did also buy some of them new. But there were reasons for that. One of them was a pre-order and some of them were from the UK, and my library doesn't generally buy books from the UK. Well, ones that are only published there. So at least I wasn't just going crazy buying books full price because I couldn't get them used. Before we go on, I want to let you know about some new items that have come to my shop. Basically, I took some of my art that could be slim and long oriented and had a company print those. I've got two designs. They are Sea Witch Lady, who is a Sicilian sea witch, I think is what they've called them. And one side is just the plain art print, and then one side has Annalisa's library on it, which is both my Instagram and the name of my shop. Then the other ones are my Queen of Hearts, which is one of my favorite pieces I've ever done. Definitely partially because it's entirely pink, and it was also good for cropping down to a bookmark shape. So those are some of the less expensive things on my shop, and I hope they will bring some people joy. I guess I'll start with the British ones. So the original reason that I decided to actually jump in and get an order from the UK, which it took me a while to do. There were some books I wanted for a while but didn't really need. But then Loveless was only being printed in the UK, at least for now. It might eventually be published here if it gets as popular as like Radio Silence. That was eventually published in the US. That's another book by this author. But if I wanted to get it anywhere near in time for ASPEC August, I needed to have it sooner rather than later. Plus it's this pinky purple sort of color in the UK edition, and I wanted more stuff for my pinky purpley shelves. I've already talked about how some buy and pan people have pointed out that it has really bad negative pan representation, and then a lot of the Aero Ace people who I interact with have said how powerful and special it was to them for the Aero Ace representation. So like, it's a mixed bag with problems that has also been really cathartic for some people. I have still not finished it, but I have started it. But while I was there, which was at Blackwell's by the way, and so as far as I'm concerned, Blackwell's did a great job. These books arrived in great condition and in a pretty timely manner considering everything going on, plus it being international. So the other two books were Wild About the Girl and Wild Women, which are the next two books in the trilogy of Wild Like Me, which I already have the paperback of, and so these get to be added to my collection, and I get to finally hear more about the story of Robin Wilde. She's a very cool character, and I was first introduced to her by the author being a vlogger that I follow, and I also like how colorful these covers are. Like, a lot of the UK covers I see of things have a lot of color going on them, like bright colors and a lot of like matte backgrounds, so I really like that. Like, I wouldn't want to have all my books that way, but it's kind of nice to have a few. In this case, it is about a single mother, which Louise Pentland, the author, was for a while. There's a lot about her relationship with her daughter and also with balancing home and work life. And I really like her work and the stuff about that because she is a cosmetologist, I think. She does people's makeup. And so it talks about how she comes up with ideas for different types of commercials, want different sorts of feels to how their actors and actresses are looking. And that was really fun to read about, especially coming from, before being a family vlogger, Louise was a makeup YouTuber. Then for another foreign one, we have But You Don't Look Autistic at All by Bianca Topes, and she is an Autistic Own Voices author. And so according to the back, this is a mix of looking at what science says about autism, also telling her own story and interviewing other people with autism, and I really look forward to reading it. It's another pink spine, and this was actually a Kickstarter that I donated to because this was originally written in, oh, look at that. I was opening this to look and see where it was originally, what language it was originally in, and they have apparently misbound this, so this can't go back down. It's only a few pages, not into the actual content, but that is unfortunate. But that's liable to happen with Kickstarters. Dutch. It was originally in Dutch. So the author is Dutch, and the Kickstarter was to translate it into English. And I just really like Autistic Own Voices books, so I'm looking forward to that. Then we have Elazzo, which was, I think, the only other full price book I've got here. And I told you all about this in my most recent wrap up, but it was really good and it's also really pretty, and I got it for the Ace rep. Then we have a really weird collection of books I found in antique stores and secondhand thrift shops. So this is a illustrated edition of the Robin Hood story, or stories, by Lewis Reed, and the illustrations are by Frank Godwin. And the illustrations are kind of weird looking, but not as ugly as some old book illustrations, and I quite like them. And there's a lot of them. There's like so many. So like some illustrated ones don't have that many, but there's a load in here, and some of them are in color. It looks like these are told in an episodic form. So they are like the collected stories, because the Robin Hood legend is not like one cohesive thing. It's a bunch of stories that people made up about one mythological figure, and it was all oral history before various different people wrote them down. There's a lot of Old English that is probably not accurate, because Old English is like pretty much unreadable, and Middle English generally also is, but there's things like quoth and thou and thy, and I think it was written after those things were no longer in use, but I still look forward to it. I don't think this is the one that Claudia from Spinster's Library read and didn't like. She recently read one that was similar, and there was a collection of Robin Hood stories written down by one person, and had that weird language thing, but I think that one was by someone else. Anyway, it's a great big tome of a book with a very cool spine, and I'm just very happy to own it for, I think it was like $5. Then in the same store, I found this Flower Arrangement Art of Japan by Mary Copley Wood, and this was made by a Western person, I'm not sure of what nationality, who went to Japan. Looks like she was American, who went to Japan and was really interested in their flower arranging, and then people back home were also interested in it, so she collected what Japanese people taught her about flower arranging and compiled it into this book. So it's this really cool cover thing that has these little holders on it that holds it closed, and then it's actually comes all the way out of that and is this that has this really cool binding and very pretty like front thing, and it's got a fair number of illustrations as well. And besides just generally being really interested in Japanese stuff, I really like gardening so this was a really cool thing to add to my collection of books. Plus I like old stuff, and this is medium old. Then we have That Inevitable Thing by E.K. Johnston, and this was a cover by, I mean, look at it, it's so purple, and there's blue on it and gold, and those are like my favorite colors other than pink. And the spine is lovely. It's apparently alternate history, and I think it's sapphic from little bits that I've read and the description. Very weird sounding, but in an interesting way. Then I found The Warrior Heir by Cinda Williams Chima, and I got it because it has a sword on the front. And it is a fantasy that involves a magic tournament. Then we have this, which you might be aware, I Can't Resist a Pirate Woman story. So this is a collection of stories about actual historical people by Laura Sook Duncombe, and it also has a very cool cover. And yeah, basically I'm a sucker for stories about lady pirates, be they fictional or non-fiction. Then we have The Last Princess, which, yes, looks like a very cliched YA, but it's of a kind that I haven't personally read or heard about, and you know, sometimes you're in the mood for kind of trashy YA. Then these two are part of a series. Unfortunately, neither is the first in the series, so I'll have to get that from the library so I can start them. But they have somewhat nice covers except for the face of the girl. The face of the girl is really weirdly proportioned. It reminds me a little of Coraline and I don't like it. But they are MG Fantasy and they were $1 each, so. And the last thing that I also got because it was cheap was this, which is called From Dead to Worse by Charlene Harris. Oh, these other two books are from the Land of Elyon series, Beyond the Valley of Thorns and The 10th City by Patrick Carman. This is apparently a vampire romance, and I feel like I have not read any trashy vampire romance other than Twilight, and I would really like to. I just like to explore that genre a little. I think it would be interesting. Plus, this is a super unsexy cover, and I really appreciate that. So that was my book haul. Some splurges, some great bargains. If you've read any of these, I would be very interested in your thoughts. Which ones you would be most interested in seeing me review, and how are your book buying habits being affected by these times? A fair number of people have been suggesting emojis for people to comment lately, and I have heard that some people appreciate that because they can't think of words to say, which is definitely something that has happened to me. I usually watch BookTube on my laptop, so I can't leave emojis, or I would totally jump on that train a lot more than I do. And I think that's especially nice because comments feel a lot more like real people to me than like view count or like numbers. So if you just want to say hi, how about a unicorn for my pretty unicorn shirt, or comment the word unicorn if you're on a non-emoji device. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!